Blessings, namaste, and love, everyone. I'm Spiritualist, Psychic, Astrologer, and Medium Ray Sette. As always, I am abundantly grateful for allowing me this opportunity to share with you my astrological as well as spiritual insights. And now we're looking to the month of September of 2022. As always, we are progressing so very quickly through this auspicious year, and because everything seems to be unfolding at such an advanced and accelerated rate, I always inspire and encourage everyone to be very aware of your personal spiritual wellness in whatever form that might be. Remember, there's no wrong or right to any of this. It's more about what serves a greater purpose for us. So always be aware of your spiritual wellness. Allow yourself whatever is necessary so that you create a sense of peacefulness within yourself, within your home environment as much as possible, as well as your surroundings. And if there is any discordant energies in the outside world, as most certainly there is during these auspicious times, those experiences will have no negative impact on our well-being when we are aware of what is necessary on our part to maintain that spiritual wellness and awareness. And so I share with you these insights. We will begin September with a Mercury retrograde, not necessarily on the beginning, but on September 10th, Mercury will move retrograde. It will remain retrograde until October 2nd. And remember, not until Mercury moves past the point at which it went retrograde are we completely out of the influences of the Mercury retrograde, and that date is October 17th. So Mercury moves retrograde on October 10th, and generally about 2 weeks before it actually moves retrograde, we do begin to feel the effects. Mercury does begin to slow down its speed. It doesn't move as quickly as it did when it's outside of the retrograde, which is about 2 weeks before, which we're at that point right now. This is the end of August when I'm creating this video. It moves retrograde September 10th. It will move direct on October 2nd, and it will remain in effect until about October 17th. Mercury will move retrograde in the sign of Libra. Remember, the Mercury retrograde, as all planetary phenomena, are opportunities and tools for us to employ. And when we understand how to work with the energy, we create much more favorable results and an outcome of any experience, including a Mercury retrograde. Anyone who has heard me over these many years, I always emphasize that during the Mercury retrograde, we embrace all the RE words. We remember things we have forgotten about. We reconnect with friends, associates, colleagues that we've lost touch with. We rewrite letters, we rewrite manuscripts, We revisit whatever it is that we may have forgotten about, places that we once enjoyed. Remember, all the RE words, remember. That is what we employ during the Mercury retrograde. It is a time for us to step back, to go within, to reflect. And once Mercury moves direct, that's when so much clarity really comes together for us, provided that we have auspiciously and effectively employed the energies of the retrograde that will bring the clarity. Remember, if we're not working with the energies, we will not necessarily receive the favorable results, as is the case with a Mercury retrograde. You know, many times I'm asked about traveling during a Mercury retrograde, and what I suggest to recognize that provided we've established the plans of the travel outside of the Mercury retrograde, generally we should be okay. Personally, I've had experiences during a Mercury retrograde where, for instance, I've had to travel by airplane, and I've had experiences where my flights have actually been significantly early during a Mercury retrograde. And as I emphasize, that doesn't mean that's going to be the case with everyone. But what I emphasize is that I will always be aware to establish and confirm my travel plans outside of a Mercury retrograde. Also, during the Mercury retrograde, I'm not concerned of the adverse effects. If we allow ourselves and we're projecting concern that something will take place adversely during the Mercury retrograde, then that's the energy that we're putting out there. If we move forward and just allow ourselves to go with the flow, things will come together much more effortlessly during a Mercury retrograde. Now, that doesn't mean that that's a guarantee. However, if we're projecting discordant energies during the Mercury retrograde, what's going to come back to us will be even more adverse. Again, all planetary phenomenon, it's not intended by the universe to disrupt our lives and create challenges. These are tools for us to employ and to work with the universal energies to create our desires, to enjoy much more harmonious experiences within ourselves as well as the outside world, including the Mercury retrograde. It is moving retrograde in the sign of Libra, and this experience at this Mercury retrograde in the sign of Libra, it's an opportunity for us to remember our innate connections with nature and the natural world. You know, when we look out into nature, we observe many, many higher understandings and awarenesses. Much of that is illustrated in Lao Tzu's manuscripts in the Tao Te Ching. If it resonates with you, I suggest exploring those understandings. They very much talk about our connections with nature and how much we can learn by observing what occurs in nature. For example, nature innately understands how to create balance when there is imbalance, and so many of us would welcome that understanding so to encounter experiences that are much more harmonious. Harmony is also a connection and represented in nature as well. The nature and the natural kingdom works in conjunction with one another. Nature does not fight against itself. And certainly during these unprecedented times, every one of us would be inspired to really work in conjunction with one another. Not so much from a place of ego, though, but from that place of knowing and understanding that all we are striving towards really is for the highest good of all concerned. And when we have that intention that all will unfold for the highest good of all concerned and not place judgment on those outcomes, then we allow the natural rhythms of the universe to come together that will serve a greater purpose for every one of us. All that is occurring right now, it really is for the highest good of all concerned. We've just not allowed ourselves to really recognize the blessings that are taking place during these most unprecedented and auspicious of times. As always, know your power. And one of the tools to know your power is astrology, and this is why we share so much of this with you. I mentioned we have the Mercury retrograde. It moves retrograde on September 10th, which is right on our full moon. Our next full moon is on September 10th. Now, Mercury will be retrograde at the time of the full moon. The full moon, as I said, it's September 10th, and the exact time of the full moon is 5:58 and 51 seconds a.m. The full moon is in the sign of Pisces. The sun is in the sign of Virgo. The moon is in the opposite sign, which is Pisces. And at the full moon, the last full moons in Pisces in September, there has been a strong presence of Neptune connected to the chart. Neptune is also in Pisces, which Pisces is ruled by the sign of Neptune, and whenever a planet transits its home sign, for example, Neptune in Pisces, those energies are very much amplified and activated. The experience of Neptune moving through its home sign of Pisces is among many things, for us to recognize how we all have a sense of intuitiveness. Every one of us is a little bit psychic, if you will, and the psychic phenomena isn't intended for a select group of individuals. It doesn't necessarily mean that will go out and conduct psychic experiences. However, this is an understanding and for us to recognize how we are all connected with spirit and the spirit realm. For us to recognize how spirit is very much guiding us. And when we work with spirit this way, the trust factor is a very strong component, which is also a constituent of the sign Pisces. Absolute trust is represented by Pisces, or Pisces is represented by absolute trust, whichever way you might have it. But what I also suggest to recognize during the full moon, because remember, a full moon, it amplifies, it accentuates, it's a time to release, clear, cleanse, and purge. With the full moon in the sign of Pisces, because Pisces represents that which is hidden, that which exists behind the scenes, that which dwells within our consciousness, subconsciousness, if you will, that what is going on below the surface. It's a time for us to purge and release whatever might be occurring beneath the surface of our consciousness within our subconscious mind. I would also include an opportunity to recognize at this full moon those subtle programs that exist within the back of our mind, that loop tape that runs through our mind, that many times will cause us to inadvertently miscreate an experience. It's an opportunity for us to release any low vibrational judgments, if you will, that we have about ourselves. The sign Virgo connects with judgment. The sign Pisces is absolute love. This full moon is also an auspicious opportunity to allow yourself to awaken to that place of absolute love within yourself, but also to release what may not allow you to really recognize that, to be clear and embrace that condition of love within yourself. Remember, when we first and foremost experience that element of love within ourselves, wherever it is that we are generating, vibrating that element to the outside world. And when we allow ourselves to be in that place of love, we have the courage to observe love in all occurrences, in all experiences, in all things, and in all people, because we've moved past that place of judgment, which many times it's very limited. The Virgo element sometimes can connect with limited thinking. The Pisces element represents the higher knowing and the all-encompassing love, which brings us great clarity. I always emphasize whenever there's a strong Neptune element present in a chart, whether it's a full moon chart or by transit, so to work with the energies of that planet in a favorable manner, we need to recognize that Neptune is the planet of deception when we try to figure things out, if you will, from the outside world. Neptune will potentially create a fog of confusion, but Neptune will also bring about abundant and great clarity, certainty, knowing, and understanding when we properly employ its vibrational frequencies, and we do so by going within through meditation, yoga, quieting the mind. That's when that Neptune confusion is transmuted and transformed to great clarity. Remember, once again, all planetary phenomena is designed to serve a greater purpose for every one of us. No one left out when we understand how to properly employ the energies. Now we have our coming new moon at the end of September, and prior to the new moon, as I always emphasize, is the Balsamic Moon phase. That's the last stage of the lunar cycle, which it's the opportunity to prepare for the coming new moon. The next new moon is on September 25th. So on September 21st begins that preparatory period to auspiciously set the stage for the coming new moon, which we have on September 25th. This is the Balsamic Moon phase begins on September 21st, and the exact time of that is 8:31 p.m. Those are the 3 or 4 days leading up to the new moon, which present us the opportunity to energetically prepare for the new moon and to begin contemplating the seeds that we would desire to plant on the new moon based upon the energies of the new moon, or whatever it is that we would desire to set in motion at the time of the new moon. Remember, a new moon, it's a new beginning. It's a time to plant the seeds and to set in motion whatever intentions we would desire to cast out into the universe at the time of the new moon. Now, on September 22nd, we have the autumn equinox, and the sun moves into the sign of Libra. Whatever sign that the sun is transiting through the tropical zodiac, I believe I've mentioned this before. There is a difference between the tropical. There are two different types of zodiac schools of thought, if you will. Generally, what we work with in conventional Western astrology is the tropical zodiac, which measures the passage of the sun throughout the years in a 360-degree circle. The tropics, the tropical zodiac, it's represented or connects with the tropics, as in the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn. At the Tropic of Cancer, the sun is at the highest point in the sky. The Tropic of Capricorn, in the northern hemisphere, the sun is at the lowest point in the sky, and at the equinoxes, it's kind of like right in the middle. I'm keeping things very, very simple. But what we generally deal with in Western astrology is what's referred to as the tropical zodiac. Perhaps at some time I will dedicate a video explaining specifically what the difference is between the two.Ut for now, we're referring to the tropical zodiac. And on September 22nd at 9:03 and 31 seconds p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, the sun moves into the sign of Libra. Libra is, as I mentioned earlier, with the Mercury Retrograde, is the sign that most represents nature and the natural world. Libra also connects with art and music, but with this specific instance, I would suggest for us to really remember, as I mentioned during the Mercury Retrograde, our connection with nature and the natural world, as well as becoming very aware of the presence of spirit in nature. And I emphasize this because Mercury is moving retrograde on the autumn equinox. So it's even more of an auspicious opportunity to remember our connections with nature and the natural world, and also to observe how spirit is very present in nature. There's a book, I believe the title is Nature Speaks. I'm not remembering the author right now, but it does illustrate the connections of nature and how nature communicates with us through symbols, through animals, through various elements present in the natural world. And these are tools, once again, tools that are available for all of us to assist us on our journey while we are in human form. So as the sun transits the sign of Libra, we are inspired to remember our connection with spirit through the presence of nature and the occurrences which take place in nature, as well as to remember that we are all creative beings. That constituent of being a creative being really begins at the time of the Lionsgate Portal, which takes place at the end of July and going into August. I've talked about that in other videos. And as the sun is now transiting Libra, which, as I mentioned, begins on September 22nd at 9:03 and 31 seconds p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, we are inspired to recognize this connection with nature and the natural world. Also, we are moving into the colder months. Many of us will be enjoying more time in our homes, so it's also an auspicious opportunity to bring nature into our homes and surround yourself in your homes with nature and the natural elements, planets, crystals, rocks, whatever resonates with you and whatever you may feel fortifies that natural element connection in your home. It's also an opportunity to create peace, harmony, and balance within yourselves and in our homes. Additional Libra constituents that we are inspired to embrace as the sun transits the sign of Libra. That said, our next new moon, which is on September 25th, and the exact time of the new moon is 5:54 p.m. and 22 seconds, I like to throw that in, Eastern Daylight Time. And it's in early stages of Libra. The new moon is at almost 3 degrees of Libra. So those early stages, the early degrees, if you will, or any sign, are when the most auspicious elements, the characteristics of the sign are energized. So certainly this new moon is an opportunity for us to truly establish peace, harmony, balance, love, joy within ourselves and within our home. And prior to the new moon, let yourself reflect and be shown with courage whatever may be interfering with the balance and wellness that we all choose and desire to enjoy. As always, I trust that these words inspire you on your journey, but also they recognize, or rather they inspire you to really recognize the power that's within yourselves and how these tools of astrology provide us tools to create what we desire through really the knowing of our power. We are moving so very, very quickly through this year. Our next eclipse season takes place at the end of October, going into November. We can feel so much energy is already shifting and accelerating and advancing, and many things are amping up. Even more reasons for us to be very dedicated towards our spiritual wellness, keep ourselves peaceful and grounded. I will be returning to the mystical moon in November. My first day of sessions, I believe, is November 14th. Lori has the schedule. You can certainly contact either the centers in Fort Myers or Bonita Beach to schedule time with me. My schedule always fills up very, very, very quickly. And we do have a limited number of available sessions because I do have a limited time that I am at the mystical moon. But I always am very excited to meet with everyone and be in such a beautiful place and share these higher knowings, so to inspire you on your journey. It's really about inspiring you to know your power and know the greatness that is within yourself. Just many times we forget about what that might be. But I always inspire us to recognize that power from that place of love and humility and never from ego and greed. So once again, I thank everyone for allowing me these few moments to share with you these insights, to inspire you on your journey. I always look forward to seeing everyone in person whenever possible. So until we meet, stay in the light, always in a place of love, and we will connect with each other again very, very soon. Many blessings, everyone.